Welcome to Book Thots. We are Thoughts for Books, and these are our thoughts on books. For the 8th episode, we're reviewing chapters 56 through 62 of Onyx Storm, the third book of the Empyrean Series. This is part 8 of our 10-week journey.
We do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated mature. We are Book Thots after all, so we are going to be using adult language, talking about adult topics, so please pay attention to who may be listening near you. This episode will also contain spoilers for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. We focus on specific chapters each episode, but our conversation will include the entirety of the series. So if you haven't read them, today's podcast is not for you. Lastly, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. I, maybe we, but definitely me, will at least mispronounce a name or place, and 100% will get facts of the book completely wrong. Adriana will give you the recap and strip down of those chapters.
All right. Welcome back. Chapter 56. This chapter opens up with Violet dream-walking into Xaden's nightmare. This is the first instance where she realizes she's in a dream. She is able to call out to him. He turns, realizing she shouldn't be there, claiming he cannot protect her. She's not safe. As she tries to wake him from within, reminding him this isn't real, the sage makes his appearance. He demands, "You lost something I wanted, but you will bring her." The sage explains that he is done waiting and playing their little game. The wards may be up, but it won't save them. If you do not deliver her, she will come herself. He demands that Violet, a dreamwalker, come with or she dies. But who is she? Violet wastes no time, remembering if this were her dream, she would be armed. She wrenches free a dagger near her hip and stabs her arm, causing her to jolt awake. She finds Xaden, spine arched, head thrown back, straining for air next to her. She is frantically trying to wake him, placing both hands on his chest and using her body and mind to shout, "Xaden, wake up." His eyes flash open. With his heart racing, he explains that he knew she was there the minute she reached for the dagger. That part of his nightmare had never occurred. It's always the same dream, with the same ending. Violet explains how she was able to recognize the dream, but once she could tell it was his dream and not hers, she was able to separate from him. There's a pounding at the door. Garrick, looking worse for wear, strides in. He informs them that they were on patrol when she found them, ripping them out of the sky like pigeons in a windstorm. He states that she let him go to deliver a message to the both of them. They have reached the walls of Drathis. They have 5 hours to bring Bodhi and Violet, or she dies. She said to bring Violet and your brother, and they'll let Drathis stand. Glancing down at what first appeared to be a shield on Garrett's back, they realize that it's a green scale matching by his armor. Theophanie has Tiny and Mira.
Tiny?
Chine.
Yeah, Tiny.
It's Chine.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just going off of what I heard.
I like Tiny better.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Wait,
So
wait.
it's not teen?
Yeah, say it again.
It's Chine.
Chine?
Chine.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I could have a whole course on this book and learn
Yeah.
a whole new language, but unfortunately,
We don't have time.
I don't have time.
Tiny's better anyway. It's cute.
Who is Baron wanting Xaden to bring him? He says that you will bring her. Who could that mean? His dragon? Who do you
I
theorize?
thought that it was his dragon. I started to think it might be Sagel Bagel, but then at the end, he tries to kill, Berwin tries to kill Sagel Bagel.
Yeah.
So I was like, it can't be. Unless he was just wanting her to kill her, I don't feel like it is her. But the way her is so generalized, her, she, all of that, it's so hard to nail down who they're specifically talking about.
And I feel like even in instances where, like you were texting about it when we were doing our reread, just basically like he, she, they're all like used to emphasize who they're talking about without disclosing. So for us as readers, we're just piecing together clues, wondering who that could be.
It's so annoying.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed with that.
I also highlighted that when it describes what the sage looks like, that he's freakishly young. But is it Naolan?
It might be.
I don't know.
But I don't think the he that Theophany references later in chapters is Berwin, because she even makes a mention of it. She's like, I wouldn't follow that fool.
So I think that the her could still be Violet.
Yes.
Because Theophany and Berwin obviously have this like tug of war with who's going to get Violet.
I just don't know why they wouldn't use specific, like, bring the lightning wielder or bring Violet. They know her name. They call her lightning wielder all the time, or the one with the irid. They use specific terms when referring to her quite a bit, actually. So it's like, why in the dreams do you not? I also think that in the dreams, there's no way Violet doesn't kill someone next book in a dream, or he kills someone, because when she brings out the dagger, it specifically says his eyes widen, and I think he thought that she was going to use it to try to attack him, but she used it on herself to wake herself up.
Well, it also, when Xaden reaches for the blade that's on his back, it disappears. So the fact that hers doesn't disappear might be why his eyes widen. I'm not sure.
No,
I
didn't catch that. That's a good point.
I kind of wonder if he had control of that. Like, Berwin had more control of the dream than led to begin with, but Violet has, now that she can... Calm down. Now that she knows that she can separate herself from within the dream, once she realizes it's not hers, that she has more control in that aspect of it too, like the manipulating of the dagger appearing. So maybe that was his fear, kind of, in a way, but I do agree. I think that was an interesting point he made. But he can see that she's in that dream. So when he's saying her, is he looking at her, pointing at her when he's talking to Xaden? Those would be clues that I could use as context here.
They would be helpful for sure, yeah, for the reader.
Chapter 57. Everyone gathers to discuss their plans of action. Only problem is they have 3 main objectives. Retrieve Mira, defend Drathus, and protect the
Protect the platypus.
and protect the pass from fleeing civilians. But they cannot save them all. Looking to Violet, Brennan is worried that she will still try, jeopardizing their mission and falling right into Theophanie's trap laid out before her. Violet chooses the objective to kill Theophanie, even though we know she will do whatever it'll take to save Mira. The clock is ticking with a 4-hour flight to Drathus. They have less than 30 minutes to leave, or it will be too late.
Dun, dun, dun. I just have to say, we last episode discussed if General Milgren was talking about the battle they had already won or a future battle, and then the book literally says that in this chapter, it says he was talking about this. This is obviously the battle he was talking about.
I didn't realize we were moving on to the next one. I don't know why, but I think we got to talk about the fact that Violet can dreamwalk again, because to me that either means that I was right and the bond was never broken, or Andarna's back and already reinstituted the bond.
She could be back. I mean, she shows up like a couple hours later.
She's either already back and we don't know about it, or the bond was never broken.
I think Andarna's capabilities with the bond in general, how she can break it, she can bend it, like she can do whatever she really wants with it. She can even mend it back, it seems like. So I'm very curious how that affects her powers too.
Also, at the end of the book, we never see that Violet feels Andarna's power again. She never is like, oh, there's my golden door in the archives.
How she can feel
she
it.
She never feels it reconnect, or we aren't.
I just don't think we're explicitly told that it reconnects, but she talks to her at the end of the book, so you have to assume that the bond is there.
No, you don't, because she's an Irid, and Irids are able to talk to whoever the fuck they want.
Only if you do the whistle thing, though. So I guess they would have to say that the whistle thing didn't happen.
Well, okay, but if you're going to just say that we're to imply that all this other stuff happens, you could also imply that the whistle happens.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think that to me, I think that her bond is definitely back.
So we think that it's back already when she dreamwalks with Xaden.
I don't know about that. I'm just saying by the end of the book, I think that her bond is back. Because they do say that maybe it's Taryn's power. She still has the ability, but it's Taryn's power she's pulling from to dreamwalk. Or like you said in the past, maybe the bond was just never broken and it just went silent because she was too far. I don't know. I hate Felix in chapter 57, though. Once again, he's just not becoming my favorite. I didn't like him last time, and I don't like him now. Because he's just being a hard ass in this entire chapter.
He kind of seems like he's making it difficult for no reason, though.
Yeah.
Like, you're throwing a fit. Like, get over it.
You know how Violet and Xaden act and operate. You think you telling them that there are other logical ways to handle this, they're going to listen? No.
So when Garrick is asked exactly what her demand was, he states she said to bring Violet and your brother. There's a debate as to who she meant when she mentions your brother. Garrick and Trissa assume that it's Bodhi. It's the fastest way to wipe out the Tyrandor ruling line. But Xaden tells Violet through their bond that Venin do not care about succession. I did it just like you. Sagail chimes in that he has another that calls him by that name, Liam, but he's dead. So could that mean Jack? Violet and Xaden assume so. But what if that means he wants the 3 Sorrengail siblings and it really means Brennan? What are your thoughts? I mean, I know later it's revealed that it's Jack, but like that was definitely my first thought reading this the first time. I was like, oh, it's because the 3 Sorrengail siblings are so powerful. Like if you look at history and what they have to offer. So it's really just kind of trying to get at them to bring them over to the Venin side and change the outcome of this war.
It's definitely Jack because I think Theo would have said, oh, you still brought the wrong person that he was wanting. But it is interesting on what the heck Jack knows that all the Venin want him dead because obviously Berwyn shared some little secrets.
Yeah.
So what are those secrets?
We haven't revealed everything that Jack has basically led on to with the interrogations, with Violet even trying to come and offer him kind of an aid in a sense. But is it something as bad as like what they fear, or is it just literally how to turn Aesum and they're trying to prevent that?
No, I think he knows like a big secret. I almost agree with Jenna. The one time she said that maybe they sent him in on the inside. Like maybe the best guy sent him in to spy on the Venin, learn their secrets, and then he actually started to not be able to turn away from the power, so it went bad, but he was still able to gather information.
Yeah.
While he was there. Because I still go back to him saving her in Iron Flame. The pieces of the puzzle don't connect. The dots don't connect. I don't know why he saves her. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the only thing I could think is he knew how important she was to the higher ups in the Venin crew. So maybe that's why he saved her, but it still just doesn't make sense to me because he was jealous of her. Jealous that the dragon chose her. He had reasons to still hate her enough to where I feel like that hate would have drawn him to kill her still.
Berwyn told him, you ain't coming back if you don't have Taryn.
Yeah, but Berwyn wants her. And he also...
Who's her?
Yeah. Just the questions throughout these whole chapters crack me up because it's just like we don't really know anything. That's the main thing of this whole podcast segment.
It is cool to see Brennan in this chapter be like, Theophanie knows how Violet's brain works, so let me think about how Violet's brain works, and then we can strategize around that. Do I like Brennan a little bit more after these last few chapters of a reread? I might.
Who is your Malik again?
You hated him last episode.
I know.
You would not forgive him.
I know, but it's just
the tactician.
Every time I listen to our last podcast and you saying, I don't think that that's Brennan's heart, and then I'm like, okay, well, it might not be. Maybe he's okay. He's just an asshole.
He's just an asshole whose lover tried saving him and did save him, but then turned to Venin in the outcome.
Chapter 58. On the flight to Drathis, Taryn tells Violet that she is their lightning wielder. While her life may not matter more than other riders, her signet does. She is a weapon and will have to learn to accept the sacrifice of others in her name if she wants to win this war. Easing her mind about Mira's death being a sacrifice, Taryn explains if he truly thought that, then he would be back in Eratia and she would be walking. This is after Vi asks how Sagail feels about her endangering Xaden. His response was the same. Had she not agreed, she would still be in Eratia and he would be walking. I liked the little fatherly pep talk there. What was that?
She's just over here making as much noise as possible.
This little...
Is it just not?
It's just...
Oh, it's around your mic.
Yeah.
You can have more if you...
No.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I think it's stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There. Keep going.
I'm going to have to get up.
There you go. Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called problem solving.
I'm a toddler.
Once closer, they realize their estimates were off. They are outnumbered by hordes of gray wyvern. Taryn notes that Mulvik and Arik have been spotted along the cliffs flying south, away from the conflict, which doesn't seem like them to run away, but no clue as to where they are headed and why. Noticing Tiny being brutally held captive, they find Theophany holding a blade to Mira's throat and another against her ribs. This ignites a fire in both Vi and Taryn to make the Venin pay for what they have done. As Xaden, Bodhi, and Brennan reach Violet, Theo turns to them, mentioning she didn't ask for either of them to attend. Violet sarcastically suggests, I thought you requested brothers. Next time be more specific about who's invited. Sighing, Theophany informs them that Berwin will be disappointed they didn't bring the brother he wanted. Violet is quick to respond that Jack will be here any minute. Confirming their suspicions, Theo responds yes, hence the term brother. She will not make the mistake with Vi that Berwin made with Jack. Telling Vi that it's inevitable that she will turn, it's just a matter of which catalyst it will be. Saving her sister, defending her lover, or for revenge. Perhaps a mix of all three. She proclaims time is up. No sooner has Garrick appeared with a sedated, weakened Jack. Violet lifts her chin, stating the deal has been fulfilled. Now it is her turn to uphold the other end of the bargain. Let Mira and Tiny go. Theophany reminds her that wasn't the deal. They said they would let Drathis stand, not that her sister would live. Giving a sadistic smile, she declares they are careful with their words, but they also lie. Draws the blade, slicing Mira's throat. That bitch.
Damn.
So confirming Jack was the intended request, that he knows too much, is Xaden supposed to be his replacement for Berwin?
I don't know. They mention at the end of the book that Jack is like Berwin's failed son, or maybe Theo says it here in a second, where it was Berwin's failed project. I feel like Xaden isn't really necessarily his replacement, though, because he's way too strong. I don't think it's comparable.
What? His failed project?
Well, it doesn't use that specific words.
I want to know how that whole thing happens. Like, how is the sage determined? What connection does Xaden have to Berwin? Why is Berwin so obsessed with Xaden?
Because it's his grandpapa.
Maybe.
Maybe. Or just like you said, he's trying to redact the fact that he picked the wrong person to mentor for Jack.
Yeah, because Jack was a spy on the inside.
And he realizes with Xaden, he has more power because Xaden brings Sigale. And with Sigale and Xaden, we could possibly have Theophany winning Violet and Taryn over. But it just seems like that's a battle, too.
That's an interesting point, because it is almost like Theo and Berwin are fighting to be the person to get Violet to channel. So does that mean if they get her to channel, that's who she would be under?
I could almost see, like, Theophany trying to, once she can control Violet in that kind of sense and have her as a student under her, manipulate Xaden in the process, because we clearly see later on that she doesn't even trust Berwin. She thinks that, like, she's Maven, he's Sage, and he's got, like, a lot of shit to pick up, basically. So maybe it's just her way of manipulating that situation in a sense. Like, she just, it doesn't seem like they work well together.
We know Theophany mentions once in whatever amount of years there's a chance to tip the scales.
Right.
So she and Berwin seem to be fighting to be the ones who tip the scale.
Whoever this mysterious he that they're trying to, like, appease, I guess. Like, whatever.
Start using names. I won't say them right, but I need names.
Into the unknown.
I can't say anything right. I relied heavily on the audiobook in my second reread, and I still feel like
The names
I'm
are hard.
butchering it.
Well,
I'm
also,
sorry.
we have worn off on you because you even said Eric instead of Arik, and you said Sagal instead of Sigale. It makes me happy that it's rubbing off on you.
You're trying to change me.
Yeah. It says, I won't make the mistakes with you Berwin made with Jack. He spills his sage's secrets too easily. That just goes back. I don't know how the sages are chosen. A lot of people just turn on their own. There's not a sage saying, do it, pull from the ground, do it.
Maybe. I mean, Xaden's been haunted by these dreams for however long.
That girl in the fighting pit, when they're practicing their signets, she just turns. She doesn't have a sage there saying, turn, turn, turn.
I really feel like we don't... If Berwin can dream walk, who's to say he hasn't been in that girl's head? Like, there's just so much happening behind the the pages of these books.
Let's say that Berwin tempted that girl to turn, then how would Theo ever even get any followers because she's going up against a dreamwalker who can tempt people in their sleep?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, Theo is a maven, so she's graduated from sage. He's a sage. We don't know how many other sages there are. We don't know what all the abilities they have. We really literally know nothing because obviously they got stuff from Jack because Theophanie wants to kill him. This is not her first time to try and kill him. We don't know what they got from Jack. Nobody's told us.
I'm starting to think that's our slogan and that's what should be on our hats going forward. Just we know nothing.
We know nothing.
At this point, we are just grasping at strings trying to guess. And
it's killing
whether those predictions are right or not, I think fellow readers can enjoy that as well because we all try to dissect what information we're given and we all come up with different ideas. So I think that's kind of cool to compare.
Here's a question. Do you think the he that Berwin and Theo are talking about is someone that we have already met or has been spoken about? Do you think it could be Papa Sorengale? Do you think it could be... No, Xaden's dad is. I think we have the death receipts technically, but
I literally highlighted on page 692 of my Kindle. I was like, he's waiting. Glee lights her smile. Berwin, I guess? As if I would answer to that fool. I think not. And I note it. I was like, is it Asher or Taryn's last writer?
Asher. In the finale, we can put bets down or something on who we think he, she, they, me.
We won't learn in the next book. You know we won't learn in the next book. How
sad would that be, though, for Lilith to think that she's joining him in the afterlife, and he's like, nah, bitch, I ain't dead either.
Yeah. I mean, but she still trusted him after he kidnapped their kid and dedicated her in a temple. If Jordan took my child, I guess our child would be the correct term there.
Not in that moment.
If Jordan took if he took him and tried to go dedicate him to a god that even if I worshipped, that's a group decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd leave you in a heartbeat.
Mama Bear would come out and my significant other would be not involved anymore, if not dead.
So, chapter 59.
Take us away. Chapter 59.
I won't interrupt you this time. You can do chapter 59.
So there's no going backwards?
No, I won't go backwards.
At this point, I'm just going to look at you and be like, are we good?
Are we okay?
I just really like I only highlighted 3 things on chapter 59.
I didn't highlight anything. I was just looking. I was jumping from 58 to 60 and I was like, well, I guess it's because it's all here. Look at this.
And I was thinking, chapter 59, it feels like we have already gone over this. But it's because the one time that Jenna thought that Jack was actually dead. And so that's when it's time to play, Violet.
I love that.
That's how Theo sounds to me. She has a croak. Almost Ember's New Groove. The bad girl.
Yeah, Yzma.
Yzma. I think she sounds like Yzma.
Looking for this.
Yeah. Pull the lever, cronk. Wrong lever.
Is that my voice? I highlighted 2 things in this one. That's it.
Take us away, because you got a lot.
Chapter 59. Mira's wound is extensive. Brennan and Violet try to hold her neck and apply pressure as he does everything in his power to heal her. Marb warns he is close to burnout. She whispers up to Malik that he can't have her, and she swears the sky darkens in response. Violet notices that Thort and Kath are in the sky, which means that Sloane and Dane are approaching. Once they land, Sloane hands Vi a cylindrical parchment from Auric. Sloane is able to pull excess magic from Dane and give it to replenish Brennan. I have to give credit to Dane in this chapter. Coaxing Sloane through this process was a huge gold star for me. She notes how much power he has, claiming, "Someone like you shouldn't have this much power." And he tells Sloane that, I quote, "She's not a weapon of destruction. She's not Venin. She's the artery power chooses to flow through. She's life." Able to give Brennan the extra power he needs to heal Mira's wound, they decide to have Brennan take Mira out of there. But Tiny is barely breathing. Sloane, still disobeying Dane's orders to return behind the wards, she throws up her middle finger at him and tells him to fuck off. Sassy, and we love it. Dane, Bodhi, and Xaden need to go help protect Drathus and its fleeing civilians. Thanking Dane for helping save Mira, he asks Violet to not thank him but tell him later how the heck Garrick and Crawd disappeared into thin air. Violet places the package from Auric in her pocket, noticing that it's addressed to Auric from Dune. As Brennan leaves with Mira, she notes that there isn't a red mark on the back of his neck where Sloane placed her hand, nor is there one on Dane's wrist where her other hand was. Xaden and Violet kiss, promising to come back to one another after accomplishing their mission. He turns to Bodhi, reminding him of his promise. I really hope Sloane and Dane are a thing. I don't know why, but I'm rooting for them because I think it's hilarious that she stands up to him like that.
Oh,
at every turn, she's like, "Fuck off, Atos. Like, you don't tell me what to do. I do what I want." Feisty.
They're totally going to end up together.
I love the enemies to lover brewing right there. Why does Violet note that there's not a red mark on the back of Brennan's neck like his palm or on Dane's wrist where Sloane used to channel the flow of magic? Does this mean that we think Brennan actually channeled at one point and that's what left that mark?
No, because he has that ruin on his hand from where Naolan supposedly funneled power to him.
That was the last that we have of that instance recorded.
Yeah, so she thinks that that's supposedly that's going to happen to everybody. And then she's like, oh, it doesn't happen.
Is that because Naolan had already turned?
Yeah, that's because Naolan was already Venin when he channeled and saved him.
That makes sense.
Fact. A few things on this chapter that I overthought the first time I was reading it and underthought the second time. Sloane notes Dane having all that power. When I first read it, I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, he shouldn't have all this power? And I was like, oh yeah, she blames him for her brother's death. So she's just, I think, angry. Like, you're such a mean person. My brother died because of you. You shouldn't have all this power.
I do think that Dane is powerful and also like what they fear or what they will fear of knowing that Violet is a dreamwalker, dangerous in all senses, and that he is used as a weapon just as much as she is. I don't know if that's what Sloane means by it or just the fact that she's like, that's so much excess power that I can pull from.
How come Dane's signet isn't considered intrinsic?
It should be.
Yeah, and Imogen's isn't considered intrinsic too?
Yeah.
Like, when do they draw the line?
Do they know about Imogen's
Yeah, because
power?
that's what they think her signet is. And then when later in the book, when she turns the shield into stone and connects it, that's the signet that they don't know about.
That's right.
Oh, I can't wait till we talk about that because I have so many thoughts.
Yes.
Something that just pisses me off in this chapter is Violet sees that the package is to Auric and she's like, why would I open his mail? And I'm like, the whole series, you have gotten mail that is for you, but addressed to someone else. You're telling me this is the first time you're like, well, it has to be for him. It can't be for me.
The amount of unintelligence that Violet shows in these last few chapters where she's supposed to be like the one that thinks on her feet, the scribe that knows everything, like all of this stuff is supposed to be part of her character. And then she's just like a dunce. I'm like,
it's infuriating.
It is very infuriating.
Was there anything else y'all wanted to note on chapter 59?
Besides my anger? No.
That's fair.
Not to call you out, but the font on your Kindle
It's so small.
it's tiny.
So chapter 60 has quite a bunch of things in here. So I'm just going to note there's a lot in this chapter. So this recap won't touch on everything, but be sure to reread it for clues and fan theories while you're out there. While you're out there?
While you're out in the real world reading your books.
in the ether.
Yeah, sometimes my mind just goes, whatever. My voice, no. My thoughts, no. My words don't match.
My voice, my mind, my heart, my eyes.
We are in the ether.
So Tiny does not wake. Violet begs Taryn to take him and get off the field because she has already lost Andarna and cannot lose Mira too. Taryn does not want to leave her behind, reminding him that dragonkind protects their own above their riders. He is quick to snap back that she will not lecture him on their laws, or she will learn just how comfortable he is with breaking them. He snarls and lifts off with Tiny in tow. Bodhi notes sending their biggest dragon away is going to bite them in the ass. I've got a bad feeling about this. Right on the money, Theophanie shows up out of nowhere. They realize too late that they were wrong about her powers. She is a storm wielder, even a stronger one than Lilith. Theophanie mentions again he is waiting. When Vi guesses Berwin, Theo responds with, "As if I would answer to that fool. I think not." Gravity shifts and Violet realizes that Bodhi's counter signet will not be enough to stop her. She's too strong. She reminds him of the promise he made to Xaden and now begs him to get out of there before the winds are too strong for Kerr to take off. Kerr wastes no time and cuts Bodhi off mid-sentence and carries him off. Without Terra nearby, Violet resorts to using her Mayorsight-tipped arrows and daggers to fight with. The wind slightly died down after a tree is uprooted and hurled at Violet. Using its cover, Vi throws what appears to be a rock at her, which she knocks off course but lands only a few feet to her right and then explodes. Flinging Theophanie, using her last alloy-hilted dagger, she surges for Theophanie before she is able to get back up. But Theo is quick to catch her forearm, crushing the bone. While Vi uses her other hand to embed her black-handled knife into Theo's thigh, Theophanie turns Vi's palm towards the ground as she threatens her that Lilith knew, even at a young age, that she was no match for her. While still trying to get Vi to reach her power in turn, we note that Violet agrees she is incapable of being everywhere at once to help save all those lives. But she doesn't have to be. When push comes to shove, Violet isn't the best of them. She is.
The biggest thing I noted is Bodhi definitely has a second signet. It specifically says, odd choice of companion, seeing that you reek of his kin. The veins beside her eyes pulse, and she appraises Bodhi. I think that she is saying that the Bodhi reeks of the dragon, because reeks of kin, because the dragon chose someone in the direct familiar line. So I think Bodhi 100% has a second signet.
Interesting.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm confused.
Okay, so these marked ones have second signets because the dragons chose specific people that was direct in the family line, which you're not supposed to do. I think she says, odd choice of companion, seeing that you reek of his kin. I think she's saying that to Bodhi and his dragon. Because then it specifically says the veins beside her eyes pulse, and she appraises Bodhi. Her saying that you reek of his kin, interesting choice of companion. Mm-hmm. It only makes sense if she's talking to Bodhi and his dragon.
Because she didn't seem at all necessarily threatened, but she was very curious and intrigued by why he was left with her.
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, I read that as she was talking to Violet and saying that Bodhi was an odd choice of companion because Violet reeks of his kin. Like, she reeks of Xaden. So why isn't Xaden here? But now I don't think that that's right. So which kin is she talking? I don't understand which kin she's talking.
I think she is talking about Bodhi being Xaden's cousin. I think they are talking about their familiar line. I didn't pick up on a second signet, so that's interesting if she is kind of fearful of knowing what maybe Violet doesn't even know yet. But he is adamant that he can counter her signet, and he tries every which way he can, even Kerr carrying him off, and he's yelling back I'm still wanting to fight. My theory later on even is that he channeled, and that's why we finally get the winds to die. It's not, they were just slowly starting to weaken. I think they finally die, not because Theophanie is thrown into the explosion, that he may have channeled possibly to help kind of completely kill the winds, but I could be wrong.
And that's why he's like, oh, it's working. Because he realized before Violet that he couldn't counter her magic, so he's like, well, if I'm Venin, I probably can. Yeah.
So you think it's 100% Bodhi at the end?
I do. For the first time I read this, I thought it was either Bodhi or Garrick. Trying to do rereads, I was like, could it be Auric? And I was like, no, I really still am leaning heavily towards Bodhi or Garrick. And I think one of them is even noted that they're missing.
Garrick.
I just remember an injured dragon, and I can't tell if that's Sigale from Xaden's watching an injured dragon, it's Sigale there, or if it's actually Bodhi's injured dragon, which we know in chapters later on that he has like an injury in his wing or something. So like I'm afraid that when he looks and he's like, brother, you've seen me the last 5 months basically struggling with this. I think it still might be Bodhi. I know that there's probably theories out there that suggest otherwise, but that's just what I pieced together.
No, I think it has to be Bodhi or Garrick. The only thing that trips me up is she says, pay attention to who's not there in the end. And the only one it specifically says is Garrick. But it does mention that you can see Bodhi throwing up on his hands and knees later on, too. So
that makes me think he channeled.
I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot next episode. I'm convinced that Bodhi has a second signet that we haven't seen yet.
What would you think it would be if you were to just guess based off of what you've clued into?
I have no clue.
Because his counter signet's a big one, but like if they think that it's not strong enough against the Maven, like I'm curious what else it could be.
If you think about him saying, like, I don't have another signet just like Xaden, then it could be something to do with
the mind.
Intrinsic. Yeah.
I mean, and I just looked. She is 100% talking to him when she says that, because the next phrase is, tell me, do you not grow tired of being a less powerful version of your cousin? So, I'm going to guess intrinsic. It is interesting, too, that there really does have to be a balance in the world, because that one guy grows the shadows that Xaden has, because Xaden is now Venin. There was another storm wielder on the other side. If Garrick is now Venin, now they have 2 distance wielders.
Well, also, it's funny that Bodhi taunts Theophanie right back, and he's like, I'm not the one out here trying to prove myself, insinuating that she's trying to prove herself to somebody. Is it Violet, or is it the mysterious he that's mentioned in the next freaking paragraph for the first time?
Who is this mystery he that she keeps mentioning? I mean, I still think, is it Asher? Is it Taryn's lost rider? Is it somebody that we think is dead? Like you even mentioned, it could be Xaden's grandfather. I wasn't going that far back, but it could be.
Hold on, wait. After she says Berwyn, after Violet's like, you mean Berwyn? She's like, I wouldn't answer to that fool. She glances skyward. Pity you sent your dragon away. But not to worry, there's plenty of power beneath your feet.
She talking about Malik?
Is she talking about a dragon? Is a dragon behind the Venin? I do think that the dragons are bad, and I do think that Tarn is not one of the bad dragons, because he's like, I will break any law of dragon kind. Don't question me on that. I don't think that the majority of the dragons are on the side that we think is good.
Can dragons turn Venin? I'm sorry, I even stirred that pot. Let's move on to chapter 61.
You gotta save that for the theories.
Well, I think that...
Well, who do you think she's referring to as the she at the end when Violet mentions that she's the best of them? Is she talking about her Irid? Is she talking...
she's talking about Rhi.
She's talking about Rhi.
Yeah, because then it jumps to Rhi's point of view. I don't think it would make that jump if that wasn't.
I mean, it's also weird that Theophanie knew Lilith. That's weird. She was already Venin when she knew her. And then when Violet realizes that she's not a lightning wielder, she's like, of course I'm not. There's only one exception to the rule, Violet Sorengale. Imagine my surprise when it turned out to be you.
Yeah, I didn't get that sentence.
So, and she thinks that it would have been Mira. Oh my God.
Mira.
She thought it would be Mira.
Are you good?
No, she thought it would be Mira.
The man in the mirror.
That would be the exception to the rule, whatever rule it is. Like, I guess the balance of power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's...
I read that sentence like 30 times and I still don't understand its meaning.
You're not alone. It's fine.
Well, I know it has meaning. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you're the only exception to that. Meaning, can there not be a Venin lightning wielder? Can there not be a balance?
That might mean that there's already a lightning wielder that's not Venin.
Wait, but that would just be Violet.
So
no,
two lightning wielders.
But Violet's an exception to the rule. Neither one of them is changing to Venin.
Or she's meaning that there were 2 storm wielders on the same side, and Violet is actually a storm wielder as well.
Get the fuck out.
Okay, move to chapter 61.
So in Rhiannon's POV, we get basically a recounting of them by the pass and trying to help the civilians and the evacuees. Theophanie has unleashed her wyvern. The biggest thing I took note of in this chapter is that I feel like we have to pay attention to who's around during this battle, maybe that could lead to who's possibly missing when we get the recounting at the end.
I didn't take a lot from this chapter. I noted the two things, and one of them was when she says, great, rain is the last thing anyone on this damn cliff needs. Storms, we all know storms are good almost every time that we encounter them. It's good luck for at least Violet. So, and then she like curses the god of luck, and she's like, oh, you can't curse the god of luck, and then praise him the next sentence, curse him the next one. You know, you can't go back and forth. So I think this just goes back to full circle of us always talking about that storms have so much more meaning to Violet and their relationship with Violet.
Taking note of people that are around her, who's Duran? Because he's with Ryorson, or she.
Wait, say that again?
So
I think Duran's a dragon, right?
is it?
I don't know.
Kath had both Ryorson and Duran. So Kath is Dane's dragon. And he's reporting seeing
Bodhi.
Ryorson.
It's
and
Bodhi.
Okay.
It's his last name.
Okay.
I love the relationship between Rhi, and her dragon.
Yeah.
I loved her dragon.
Yeah.
Especially when she says your situational awareness never fails to leave me awestruck. I loved that.
Yeah.
And how
Hilarious.
she's she's desperately still worried about Violet and Imogen and Quinn. Like, even when she claims like those three riders are their strongest and they're missing or from that battle at the moment. She's so sad. She does care about them, but she's also struggling with the fact that she has to remember that those are individuals and they have a bigger mission ahead to save those evacuees as best as possible. I'm going to jump ahead to 62, which is the last chapter for what we're covering today, and that's Violet's POV. And I'm going to note the beginning chapter quote there is no goddess more wrathful than Dune. Entering her temple will slice the soul from any attendant who has shunned her grace. That's from Major Riorli's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition. Our girl Violet tells Theophanie that her friends will continue to fight long after she meets Malik, but she's meeting him with her soul intact. She slams her forehead into Theo's nose. The second her weight shifts, Vi is able to bring her right knee towards her chest and kick up as hard as possible, causing Theo to break hold of her wrist. Avoiding Theophanie's poison-tipped dagger, it takes only a single tap of her fingers to turn that spot on the field gray. She can turn Violet into dust if she doesn't get the hell out of there. Xaden calls down the bond checking on her, and Violet just tells him to focus on himself. Theo can pick up on her worry, and playing at Vi's heart, she tells them that she could have forever with him if she were to channel. Their kind don't feel love. It's all just an act. That bitch. Lesson 1. To survive in their world, she must protect the magic that sustains them. She tells her that to keep from being drained by this method, all she has to do is grab power from the earth. All Theophanie would have to do is turn up the amount of power she is taking away and speed up the area targeted. Violet is shit out of luck if she doesn't think of something quickly. Theophanie explains that the easiest solution is to drain it herself before she gets to her, allowing her to live, keep her love, and power even her dragon. Using a dead wyvern to run from the wave of Theo's desiccation, she hears wing beats, but it's a gale. She's carried west away from Xaden and thrown into Terran's talons, but not before our feisty Segale has to remind her that she is an inconvenience for which there is no adequate measurement. Ouch. Gonna use that the next time I want to throw daggers and leave my mark. Then she proceeds to tell her that she did an excellent job keeping the Maven occupied. Terran shows her that more wyvern are moving in on the city. They note Glenn and Kath and Kerr high above the line of Gryphons picking off wyvern. With Terran bringing them closer, Violet is able to use her lightning to kill the wyvern and Venin. Arik and Mulvik bring in the advanced Zelna party. 1,000 soldiers and their horses should be joining them in less than half an hour. Staring at the place Vi last saw Theophanie, she spots the tornado aimed right at the city of Drathus. Terran reminds her they have one objective: fly for Theophanie. I was laughing so hard when Segale tossed her, and I could just see Violet, like, whole life flashing before her eyes as she's like, well, fuck.
Yeah. I also have a theory that maybe the Venin can't heal because when Violet does the bashing of her nose, Theophanie says, she's like clutching her nose, and she goes, that's never going to straighten out. So either they don't have a healer on their side or maybe Venin can't heal.
She just worried about her pretty little nose.
There's no Minder, which would mean that our
Minder,
theory of Brennan being Venin, it wouldn't be a thing. He wouldn't be Venin.
Yeah, it is interesting to know how they walk away from injuries. Are they able to heal on their own? If not, does it take longer? Because even Jack doesn't seem like he heals from his injuries without the antidote she gives him.
And Berwin has a giant scar on his head from when Xaden tried to push him off a cliff to kill him.
True.
God, that's so
Stupid.
stupid.
Dummy.
Ugh.
In my spotlight, I just want to announce that Rebecca has been #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for 9 weeks straight with Onyx Storm, or 9 weeks at least. So huge congratulations. She signed off saying that she was headed back to the writing cave, where she is apparently working on the graphic novel and then a contemporary novel before the 4th book in the Empyrean series. So that's super exciting. I also want to note a post from March 13th. This one is from the Open Book with Jenna podcast. Go check it out if you haven't. Rebecca quotes on the importance of the romance genre. I didn't say this. Rebecca states, I think romance is a beautiful place where women can go to fall in love over and over again and see themselves represented and see their own self-worth actualized and maybe even learn how to voice what they want and see idealistic relationships. This is what I'm worth and who's worthy of me.
I like that.
I did too.
That's nice.
I do like a good romance book.
They might be my favorite.
Fan theories for today. I've noted that Xaden's POV chapter, the mystery brother, someone who watched him struggle for about the last 5 months. My guess would have been Bodhi or Auric the first time I read this, but Bodhi states that he doesn't want Tyrandor. He wants to be Xaden's right-hand man. He was always meant to be the rider, not hold the province. Could this indicate that he channeled for power to weaken Theophanie? In doing so, it's him that Xaden sees in his wounded dragon. But my first guess was Bodhi or Garrick upon my second read, so I still think I'm leaning towards Bodhi because I think he has more reason to channel. And I know we've discussed this earlier, so could it possibly even be that second signet coming up, or was it just his way of trying to protect Xaden?
I am so torn. I'm 50-50 on it if it's Bodhi or Garrick.
Yeah.
I truly do not know because it says Bodhi's on his hands and knees throwing up, but at the same time, Garrick has ran out of his power during that moment. He can't jump to different places, and when he's leaving Imogen in his chapter, he says, I'm going to go find something to do. And so that's kind of alluding, if he was out of his power, how was he able to help out anymore? And it specifically states he is missing in the end. But then again, if Bodhi's there, why would Xaden feel the rush to marry Violet and give her Tyrandor?
Plus, yeah, then we also note that Rhee says she sees Xaden and Bodhi down on the ground together.
I agree with you. I think it is either Bodhi or Garrick. I just feel like the more I reread it, the more I lean towards Bodhi, just slightly more.
This is in my chapters that we're going to do next episode, but I'm going to say that it notes the wielder on the ground, and then it says, or the channeler, that's the new brother. And then it says that their dragon is on the ground unconscious. And when Imogen sees Bodhi retching, Kerr is up in the air still fighting.
Oh, he is still up in the air?
He is.
I thought he was the one on the ground.
There are things that happen simultaneously in the chapters because it's from different people's point of view.
Yeah.
So he could have been fighting the wyvern because it says that they're surrounded by 7 wyvern or werven. Wyvern. So it says they're surrounded by 7 wyvern, and then the dragon's unconscious, and then there's the new brother sitting there.
Yeah, I couldn't
guarded.
I thought it was either Sigale or Kerr as the dragon on the ground, like when that was injured. But then I was like, shouldn't we know that?
Sigale's talking to Xaden, so it's not her unconscious on the ground being guarded. It doesn't say it's the wielder's dragon, though. That's the weird thing, because it says the dragon. It doesn't say his dragon.
And we'll get into it when we do your chapters,
Yeah.
but it specifically states at the very end how many people are missing and how many people died.
Yeah.
That are in leadership, and then how many dragons they've lost as well.
Violet being a dreamwalker, I think we're going to see in the next book of her trying to communicate with Xaden. through either memories or trying to find those threads he's always talking about with his shadows. I think that's still going to be part of like her compass following him and just trying to hopefully get him back. There's just so much we leave open for book 4, but I am curious where she'll take us.
I don't think the dreams are going to be primarily used for just fighting. I think that will probably be her primary form of communication with
And
Xaden.
connection.
Mhm.
Yeah. Their souls are like tethered.
hope
so
so.
I feel like there's got to be something that she can use to find him. I mean, he notes that constantly in this book that she will be the one to kill him or find him. So,
Well,
or both.
she has her broken compass, remember? One thing
No.
that didn't come up in the fan theories, but I wanted to say that I thought it was weird that Theophanie, the way she states magic being repurposed, it's just weird. The wording is weird, and she says that they use their words carefully.
And they lie.
And
So
they
we
lie.
can't believe a single thing she said.
Okay, so irrelevant.
No, it's relevant, but it's when are they lying? When are they not lying? When is this book telling the truth? When is it lying? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? What's happening? We don't know.
You won't even be able to tune in next week to find out. We have to wait.
Yeah.
It's not a next week thing. We don't get to answer it.
No, we don't get any of it. And we might not even get the answers in the 4th book or the 5th book. This whole series might end with no answers.
It might not even be the end of the series. What if she's like, no, there's 12 books.
I actually wish that authors did not have to tell how many books are in a series.
That bothers you?
It bothers me so much.
Why?
Because then I know the pace of it, right? Like I know, for example, I know she wasn't going to kill Xaden and Violet in this book, like almost 99%. You have 2 more books. If you did that, you'd lose half of your readers. No
True.
author is going to do that. Now let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next week, we'll be talking about chapters 63 through 66 of Onyx Storm. And be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Tune in every Friday wherever you get your podcast for a new episode of
Book Thoughts!